Okay, are we ready to go? All right, cool. So, Damian Lillard is going to Miami, and that's a pretty big deal. So for those of you, if you've all heard this by now, unless you're living under a rock, but Damian Lillard has requested a trade from the Portland Trailblazers, and it looks like he is probably going to the Miami Heat. So this is a pretty big deal, because Dame is one of the 10 to 15 best players in the league. And Miami just made the finals. I don't know if you've heard, but they're a pretty good team themselves. They made a pretty sneaky run to get there, and this is a super the stakes at this point. Sorry, I only scripted like the first like 10 seconds of this, and this is the first video I've done, like the first like real unscripted video I've done on here. So you're gonna have to give me the benefit of the doubt. But yeah. So Dame's going to Miami. It's not technically set in stone yet, but to me, I think there are really two schools of thought to basically determine whether or not he's going to go there. It's in the best interest of the Blazers to probably ignore Dame's request to go there, because they can't really use the assets that Miami can provide themselves aren't really that useful. And in order to complete a valuable, worthwhile trade with them, there would have to be a third team involved, which I think is going to happen. By the way, I just talked about this on my podcast. Link for that will be in the description, hopefully, or somewhere in the pinned card up here somewhere. But anyway. They're going to need a third team to facilitate that. I think the best team to do it, like, there's an avenue for New Orleans to maybe take on Tyler Hero, and then, Trey Murphy and stuff goes to, that could be Lakers stuff, that could be the Pelicans own stuff. Something's going to go to the Blazers then, Trey Murphy and stuff, or just stuff. And then, obviously, the Heat will send an ass load of assets to either the Pelicans to make up for them giving their stuff to the Blazers, or just give their stuff to the Blazers, which makes more sense. Jaime Jaquez, and then whatever picks they can trade. I think they only have their 20 and 2030 picks available. Their 2031 is not tradable yet. And I'm pretty sure they traded their 2026 pick already. So I'm pretty sure they're kind of stuck with just the 2020 and 2030, but they do have most of their seconds. So assuming there is a third team involved, Miami is pretty feasible. There just has to be a third team that's willing to take on Tyler Hero and his sizable contract. It's pretty fair. If we're talking about other teams that are in the mix, the Clippers could maybe package Terrence Mann contracts, and I don't know, they have Brandon Boston and some first round picks. But I think the way this Clippers thing is going, I think this ship is just very slowly sinking with the Clippers, and getting in on that seems impossible. They're really trying to get on okay, I'm actually mixing this up. The Clippers are trying to get on James Harden. And then the Sixers, well, I guess the Clippers are also trying to get on this, but their package is really bad. The Sixers can give up Tyrese Maxey, which is good if they can make it happen where it's just Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, and whatever picks they have left in the kitty for Dame, then that's good. But I think the issue with that is, it's the same thing with one, Dame doesn't want to go to Philly necessarily, and then two, you still have to figure out the Harden thing, because it looks like James is just out. It's not a sure thing that he'll get traded, but it's pretty likely at this point, I would say. I think the Sixers are probably, they could actually, in theory, if they trade James Harden to the Clippers, they get some young assets. They could flip those young assets and Maxey in a 3-teamer to the Blazers, and then it's Dame, Embiid, and whatever veterans are left over. If they can get Norman Powell from the Clippers, or Nick Batum. I think Robert Covington is expiring next year, and so is oh god, what's his name? They have another one. Hang on, I have to look this up. I'm using my phone to record this, so I I'm not gonna get my computer, so I'm not gonna look it up. There's another veteran that the Clippers can trade, and it's not Eric Gordon because he just went to Phoenix. But I think there's an avenue for James Harden to get to the Clippers, for Dame to get to the Sixers, and for assets to go to the Blazers. So I think that's super interesting. And then whatever the Blazers don't really have to the Blazers are gonna get some variation of a ton of assets. They're young. The young players they already have are so good that I don't really think that should be an issue. I just think they should just try not to get fleeced. They don't because they're starting off this rebuild on a really good foot, and next year they will suck. So they'll probably be able to get the final piece they need, whether that be a wing or a versatile unicorn big to kind of tie this all together. Maybe whether it's Matas or Matas is the only prospect I actually know in next year's draft, and Bronny. But if they can get another, either shot creator at the wing or forward position to kind of pair with their two elite shot creating guards, then I think this Blazers team has a elite rebuild on their hands. And then the other school of thought would be for the Knicks to maybe get involved in this. That doesn't seem very smart. I'm saying the other school of thought, I presented to, just ignore some of the things I say sometimes. That doesn't make sense. But I guess, I don't know, this is just really crazy. And it just seems like the writing on the wall is telling me that Dame's going to Miami and that we're kind of all overthinking this. I do think it's going to be a 3-teamer. I think Portland would be very stupid to take on Tyler Hero, but knowing them and that front office that not so long ago traded Norman Powell and Robert Covington for pennies and basically did that and then traded CJ McCollum for Josh Hart and then some pennies and then Josh Hart for more pennies. What? You can't use those anymore. I do think it's likely that Portland still screws this up. That's the kind of, I think that's the one thing that we kind of are seeing in this. Portland is kind of, I mean, they've managed to land themselves in a pretty good position because they got Scoot, but if they got the 5th pick in the draft or the 6th pick in this would look a lot worse, but good thing they drafted a generational point guard to replace their Hall of Fame point guard. So I guess they're fine, but dude, Dame's going to Miami. That team's going to be crazy. Or at least that nucleus is going to be very good. Filling out that roster is going to be really hard. They really have very little left. They have those 3, Caleb Martin, Kevin Love, and I guess they'll probably have to move Duncan Robinson. They'll have to move Hero, one or both. And then whichever one is left, plus any cap space you freed up with letting go of Oladipo, maybe you bring back Omer Yurtseven. Cody Zeller just signed with New Orleans, so you can't bring him back. It's gonna be a very thin roster, but we've seen that as long as they have 7 playoff players, that's all you need. You need 7 playoff players, and I think they have 5 right now. They just need 2 more guys to kind of solidify this roster, and then some guys around the edges to kind of keep them afloat during the regular season. But once it comes down to playoff time, those 2 random guys can kind of get them through the first 2 rounds in the Eastern Conference Finals and NBA Finals, which is this team's goal now. This team's goal is nothing the Heat made the finals last year as a bonus. Them beating the Bucks was a massive success, and then all the playoff success that came after that was a bonus because this team was not supposed to get that far, and they did in spite of that. So really they this team has nowhere to go but up. And it's gonna be really exciting to see Dame finally chase that ring because god damn, he deserves it more than anyone.